Okie dokie. And we are live. What's up? I bet that's the most metal way you guys have heard someone say okie dokie. Welcome to VKH Live. I am your host, Jeff DeWitt. Apologies for running late. House is a little under construction at the moment. It's a little hectic here, but got it in. Got here. Got set up, ready to talk about some Durham Gray, guys. What's up, chat? What's up, everybody in chat? Welcome if you're new. This is your first time watching. This is VKH Live. This is a live stream series put on by VKH Press. We are a news website covering J-Rock and J-Metal and Visual K. And we do all kinds of things like news and reviews and stuff like that. So I read the chat here periodically. I don't have it up on screen today because I want to get into a little bit of stuff about Durham Gray, kind of dive into it. Not a ton to really get too predictive about, but it is Durham Gray. So I have some thoughts on the upcoming album based on the past releases. But if you ever want to get my attention or you want to support the show, you can always give us a super chat on Streamlabs, link in the description. It's always appreciated. And this is what our gift looks like today. I honestly only bring it up anymore verbally just to show off my gifts that I pick because I'm proud of them. Additionally, this is part of our Labor Day weekend stream spectacular. We are having some fun, doing a ton of different streams. There's a link to that in the description as well. So definitely check that out. Okay, so let me see if anybody's in chat and wants to share opinions. I'll keep an eye on it, but feel free to let me know. What do you guys think of Ranunculus, the PV? I was a little surprised that they went soft again. Not soft exactly. We heard a soft chorus. I'm not necessarily convinced that the whole song is going to be like that. But I was pleasantly surprised. I quite enjoyed it. Looking at Kyo's aesthetic here in particular, it's quite striking. Without playing a ton of the PV, just want to skip through. This is available on their official channel. Very bright, very colorful. As is the band's, colorful in its own creepy kind of way, I guess. And then you have the band image over here. I was playing around with the the colors on the band image for promoting the article, for the article promoting the stream. And was interesting seeing how the colors would scale just depending on different things. So they picked a very interesting kind of filter for it. So they got me all kind of confused, to be completely frank with you. If we want to take a look at the album itself, maybe we can just work our way back from the album itself. You have Ranunculus, which is kind of like a soft kind of song, very reminiscent of Rinkaku from their previous album Arke. You also have Utafumi, which was the first single that they put out after Arke, and then you also have Ningen wo Kaburu, which was their most recent single. And I think this is the most the most varied I've seen Durham Gray in a while in terms of direction. So I'm cautiously optimistic after hearing what I heard in Ranunculus and after seeing what I saw in the PV. For some context, for those of you who haven't seen our past streams, my co-host, who's going to be back in a few streams, hopefully Winona and we talked fairly extensively about Ningen wo Kabaru, and we were really psyched with the PV, with the PV teaser, because it really showed off the chorus as like this really powerful, track, and it's like they really nailed the chorus, and we kind of were like counting on the whole song sounding that way. But then when the actual PV ended up coming out, or in the single, there was a lot of mixed feelings. We felt kind of the verses were a little messy. I think my exact comparison was it was almost like they were trying to fit like that avant-garde metal sound, or that they have, or their extreme metal, avant-garde metal sound, however you want to call it at this point. And they were trying to fit into like a new metal song structure, and it wasn't quite jiving too well, with like the growl rapping and things like that. But it's very strange because they hit the chorus out of the park. So, and oddly enough, on top of all of that, the PV was just like this certain kind of aesthetic that it's like, I noticed those issues while I was listening to the song, but it didn't really end up being much of a deal breaker as I watched the PV, because the PV is very visually engaging and trippy and interesting. So just a lot of mixed feelings all around for that single. And then that it had been a little while since they put out Utafumi, I think, not too long, but Utafumi was their first single back after Arke, and that was a very that felt kind of like they were stepping back away from Arke a little bit, and but not too much, I guess is the easiest way. Like it was still very dramatic, very Kyo wasn't gun shy on the wild, clean vocals, but he also wasn't shy on his wild, rough vocals. Which anyone who listened to Arke, it kind of like is very, very. First of all, amazing album. I reviewed it for VKH, and I thought it was a fantastic album personally, but it was very much like a crazy trance of an album, very atmospheric, very hypnotic and strange for a lot of it. Not so much like head banging and growling and savagery straight like put on a platter delivered to you. The album kind of made you work for it, made you like listen, it made you look for like the crazy parts, the soft parts, it led you all over the place. And then finally in the last few tracks, they really like, they really kind of gave you the carrot, I guess, for like the people that were more there for like the crazy heaviness, they with the Revelation of Mankind, and the track that came before it, which I want to say was Inferno. But it was a wild, crazy adventure. But it was more about like so many of these new things that Dir and Grey was doing, or just like so many of these ways they were repackaging like their or reformatting their sound in these new ways that I'd never heard really a band do before. And so Utafumi was kind of like stepping back into what I was seeing as more of a traditional Dir and Grey sound, but still with that like added mysticism, in the atmosphere of the song. If that makes much sense. So yeah, so we've kind of walked back to Arke, I guess, and I guess it was just a really big leap from Arke to Ningen wo Kabaru. They took some risks, and that's totally fine. And I think, I think they nailed it with the chorus. And now we're back to a very Arcade sound, as someone said in chat. I think they think the album will sound very similar to Arcade. I think there's a good chance of that. I almost feel like it's technically already heavier than Arcade, just between Udafumi and Ningen wo Kabaru, honestly, because I mean, like, I guess it's kind of close competition, because like around the time Arcade was coming out, I guess you had Sustain the Untruth, which was like kind of heavy, like, but not super heavy. So I almost feel like it's gonna be, a shade harder than Arcade was. Maybe they're trying to find like the I was always curious to see if they could carve out a niche between the brutality of Dumb Spiro Sparrow, which I don't know if we'll ever see them fully go back to, and I'm not entirely sure I want them to go back to it or anything else, quite frankly. These guys are true trailblazers as far as I'm concerned at this point. I kind of want to just see where this goes. So you've got Dumb Spiro Sparrow, and then you've got Arcade, this like really like atmospheric sound. So I'm curious what lies in between. So personally, I'm hoping we see what lies in between, and we hopefully what lies in between those two is unexplored territory and also interesting. My personal fear is that they're going to sound too much like an older album or an older style, or like a Western style that's been done a lot. Like, I kind of got that vibe a little bit from Ningen wo Kabaru. It's like new metal, alt metal vibes, but they kind of made it their own at the same time, in spite of the fact it was a little sloppy in the verses. So, but I mean, hey, that's part of the risk that comes with taking risks, with experimentation. So, very interesting. Very, very going to be extremely interesting. That's about all I can really speculate on the album, honestly. But there, just based off of 60-second PV and then the singles, which I have been listening to intently. Very visually striking PV preview. I think there's a lot more color. I think another thing is that, or another angle you might want to look at this is that like we're looking at a Durangray that is, this is their second album like post Sukekyo being a thing, so I really felt like Kyo took like a lot of his influences through Sukekyo and like kind of merged it into Durangray a bit for Arcade, even though they were kind of going off in that direction to begin with. But it's been a while since Arcade, and while we haven't seen a ton of new stuff from Durangray, the stuff we've seen has been like obviously like steady progress, but Kyo's had plenty of time to fool around with Sukekyo, and I believe, if my memory serves correctly, there's been quite a bit more evolution in his solo projects and his side activities as well. So but what I'm hearing from the sound is that I don't think it's going to be so heavily influenced by the like the Sukekyo kind of side of Kyo. It feels like the fullness of all of the songs we've heard so far, even this like slower one, this ranunculus one, is got that full, really hard metal sound from Durangray that I was more reminded of again, like somewhere between Arcade and Dumb Spiro Sparrow. And I'm not saying it's like smack dab in the middle. I understand it's much less heavy than Dumb Spiro Sparrow. But it's like those were the two preceding albums, and it's somewhere on the scale there. I don't know if it's like 70% towards Arcade, but there's definitely there's plenty of room, plenty of places they could land, I guess. The other thing is that they cut off the chorus for this PV. They cut it off right as it faded in, right as it faded out. And I don't think I really caught it like slowing down in tempo. So this could really be like a fake out song where it is actually like, very brutally heavy song that's just set at a ballad pace. I guess Duran Gray was one of the bands that kind of made that style popular, I suppose. I'd say like Data Roma is like a band that was inspired by Duran Gray to continue that popularity. If anybody needs like a newer reference for what I'm talking about, so like Ame no Waltz, that kind of thing. That was kind of the vibe I was getting from that. So, but yeah, I'm loving the album art. We can jump into the album art for a little bit. There will be memes from me and Shane. I'll take responsibility. I won't say VKH takes responsibility for the memes that come out, but we have a great plan for some memes, wholesome memes, respectful memes. We're all about the respectful memes at VKH. Respect the artists and everything. But this I found a good little thing for it, but yeah. Trippy as all hell. For those of you who aren't who need a rundown of the different releases, I can go ahead and cover that briefly if I could pull up our article. It's a little confusing for me when I was putting it together, so it'll probably be helpful for anyone that's not completely up to date on things. And I did see other outlets that had reported on some of this earlier, and some of the details were a little off. So we waited till the PV teaser came out, and then we kind of dropped all the details. So let's go ahead and review and just kind of see what we're dealing with here. So basically, the long and short of it is that there are they're calling it versions. There's 3 different versions instead of types. So they have the regular version, first press, limited version, and limited deluxe version. Technically, though, there are 4 types, if you want to think in terms of like album types, because this limited deluxe version comes with a DVD that can either be a Blu-ray or a regular DVD. So if my memory serves correctly, this is kind of a similar format to what the Gazette is doing. Kind of the mega bands are kind of really getting ambitious with their with their limited editions and stuff, So the regular edition is just coming with the 13 tracks. They keep it all the same, for the album across all the different editions. They keep all the tracks the same because they're a major band, and there'd probably be riots if they tried to do the indie thing, where it's like, oh, bonus track. I don't think that'll ever work for most major bands. The first press limited version is it does have different album art for those of you who are interested. So this is the regular first press, and then the limited deluxe is a DVD cover. So it's I believe it's a DVD cover, so it's a little bit taller. You get a better view of what looks like a continent, in a world map or something like that, or if that's I'm not sure what you would. Is it a continent and then it's on like a star chart? So it's merging a map and a star chart. Man, we're gonna do some more streams when we get when more information comes out, and definitely when the album comes out, because reviews will be had, listening parties will be done, analysis will be done, and fans will be asked what they thought of the album for sure. But when we do all that, I need to get Winona's artistic breakdown of this. She's an art major. She's really good at breaking this stuff down. She's explained the dataism for people to understand where Dataroma gets their concepts from. look forward to what the Insulated World isms are. But yeah, so it comes with same CD, but then there's a bonus CD that has a remade track of Keegan, which I believe I made a note was a B-side from Child Prey, the single back in the day. And then there are 2 live recorded tracks here. And then the last one is the limited deluxe version. And it is you can get it in Blu-ray form or DVD form, and you'll notice the price the price jumping up, man. You know, just dip. The Gazette did this too. It's like the limited deluxe like doubled, but then they like just drop all this content on you at the same time. So same CD. One, CD2 is now expanded. I saw that was where I think I saw some confusion. So like if you're trying to decide, definitely keep in mind that the CD2 with the bonus tracks has extra in the limited deluxe. It's not just Keegan. They have the deeper violence and Ryu, and then for the lives they added in Ash, and yeah, they added in, it was just Ash, I think, for that. But then they have this DVD. It can be a DVD or a Blu-ray, and so you get Ranunculus, the Blu-ray, or sorry, the PV. And then you get a ton of live footage from a bunch of different performances. You know, some of it's from 428 at Sendai. Some of it's from Shinkiba Studio Coast, and then the very last track is behind the scenes of the Insulated World. So that's what you're looking at in terms of your different editions. Nothing too crazy, you know. It's getting a little ambitious, a little complicated, but you know, nothing wild. It's Duran Gray. People will be. I'm sure these will be worth the buy. You know, it's. Hey, if the Gazette can drop a bunch of stuff like this, like a bunch of versions like this, Duran Gray absolutely should too, man. Visual K, accomplished, long-standing bands, go all out, man. Turn it into an art piece. It seems like a great example to set. So, I missed the LP deluxe box releases. Yeah, I'm not super familiar with like what their past stuff has been. In terms of like boxes and stuff. So I guess they went in quite a bit in the past, I would imagine. But we'll have to see what the I wonder if so we link to CD Japan. It's kind of where we recommend getting stuff. Unless you can get it on streaming, and in which case we try to get you that info ASAP. I wonder if there's no, unfortunately there's not a like a physical shot of the limited deluxe, because I know, because it really does look like a similar lineup as like what the Gazette just did with Ninth in the summer, and their limited deluxe was like they went out of their way with the packaging and stuff. So oh man, but so yeah, that's all the details for the album version, or for all the different album versions. We talked about the PV preview, and kind of gave my general thoughts on just like my initial first reaction to seeing the PV, and in the context of like the last few stuff we put out. So I'm cautiously optimistic because it was a very nice chorus. I just do feel a little burned, I would say, after Ningen wo Kaboru. And Arke is going to be such a tough act to follow up. I don't think they're going to put out a bad album, but it's going to be there's an ongoing trend I'm going to be talking about tomorrow, actually, and I'm going to omit Duran Gray from this discussion that I'm going to be having tomorrow, because I want to be fair and let them like have their album out. There's heavy visual K in general is in like this crazy state of flux where it's not entirely sure like if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but like a lot of different bands are throwing a lot of different curveballs. And some bands it's more obvious that it's like, oh wow, these guys changed and it's really good, and some it's like, oh, these guys changed, it's really bad. But some it's like, well, I didn't even expect these guys to change, so what am I supposed to do with this? So we're gonna get into that a lot. So it'll be curious to see where Dir and Grey kind of falls in that, because the running thread seems to be that as the year progresses and gets closer to the end, the heavy bands are becoming more and more just in flux in general, which isn't like bad or good. It's just like a lot of change going on. And then the Oshariake bands are coming back and they're solidifying into like their kind of new archetype. So we're seeing a lot of moment, a lot of changing, a lot of change in momentum, I guess, across the different little subcultures and stuff. So and whenever Dir and Grey puts out a CD, it's gonna set an example. It's gonna have an impact. You should check out the box of Dumb Spiro Sparrow and Ouroboros. The artwork is amazing. I definitely will. I think I'll go ahead and close just by like talking about. Sorry, I got distracted thinking about what like box art for Dumb Spiro Sparrow would look like and Ouroboros. I'll have to Google that. I think I'm gonna. Oh, hi Gula, welcome to the chat. I'm kind of wrapping up, but this was just gonna be a brief stream where I just got my general thoughts out there. We had our article, we got it out. I think everybody's seen the PV, everybody's had a general reaction. I wanted to give my general 2 cents without going too far. Don't want to like make any predictions or anything wild off of any, short, preview or anything like that. But maybe when we get an album digest or we get, right up to the release date, we can start diving more into this, because I'm ready to tear this one apart. I will need to put the Gazette to bed finally, though. We do have I do have a review to finish for them, and that will be finished before the Dir and Grey album comes out, so we can go full on into Dir and Grey, and just make that the priority, man. So it's gonna be interesting. LOL, I missed the stream again. But you're only like 40 minutes behind. I'm just doing a short first impressions, of my general vibes of the album that's coming up. So the last thing I'm going to talk about is just like congratulations to Dir and Grey at the very least. For however this album. Oops, sorry. That's the I just banged my fingers on the table I'm building right next to me. So I'll have face cam for the Chew stream. Hopefully we'll have this desk done. Anyways, regardless of how the album turns out, I definitely want to say congrats to Dir and Grey for the 10th album. Like goddamn, man. What a discography. Let's look at the discography actually, because it's this is 10 crazy albums, man, and all kinds of other stuff too, all kinds of singles. I'll pull up their OHP and kind of go through it. Well, maybe I won't, because they have an English language site. Let's see. But yeah, man, if anyone in chat, hasn't listened to, Dir and Grey's, honestly, like, if there's parts of their discography that you're missing, you're probably missing out. So I would recommend, even if it's like the indie stuff, like going back and checking it out. I know we've been a lot of us have been on an indie band. I got a lot of our viewers on an indie band kick, so they've been checking out all kinds of cool, hot, new, cool bands. But if there was one discography that I would say you would want to listen to from the beginning, it would be DIR, I think, or at least from Kiso. I'm still going back through their older stuff. I can't. I guess I can't get into it too much, but so I guess I'm a bit of a hypocrite there. I guess I'm missing out, right? But yeah, so I mean, you have Misa, Gauze, Macabre, and a remix album. So like this era of DIR is about where I'm like very illiterate. This was like old DIR. This was like oh man, I gotta go off the dome because I only barely know or I gotta look it up. I only barely know so Misa's, the mini album, Kiryu Tamayu. Yeah, so this is like very old stuff. This is stuff I'm still working my way back to. Gauze was the first album, I see. I want to say it's a Yokon. Oh, okay, and Zen is on there. Or Zon. So Zon I'm actually familiar with because they did a 2011 remake of it, and I went back and listened to the original, and I actually like the original better, and it's done in this creepy indie, indie metal or indie rock sound compared to the 2011 one, which is like this extreme metalcore. It's but I just they nailed the indie. They nailed their indies when they did their indies, I guess. Is it? I guess that's the easiest way to say it, and kudos to them for that. There's a lot of my favorite bands I don't like their indie music, but I'm still going back through these, but I have gotten to a couple of them, I guess. Kiso was very trippy, if I remember correctly, like my initial impression. Feel free to leave your comments about what your favorite album was and things like that. Where my knowledge really starts to kick in, where memory starts to really serve me more, is where are we? Is Vulgar. Of course, so you've got Drain Away, which for those of you who've been on past streams and you've seen my favorite look by DIR, it's with Kyo with the plaid jacket and the flare on it, so there's that. There's but Drain Away is a really good song too. Obscure, obviously the very infamous. Dutch Universe says play Obscure. I actually can't play music on here due to copyright rules. I don't think, also out of respect to the artists. But if I secure permission from DIR one day, I will. But we gotta work our way up to that. Right now we're securing permission from we've done live reaction streams to Shiva PVs where we've played a Shiva PV, and we've played a Viv Rush PV. Maybe I'm missing one other one. Maybe chat can remind me. But we'll get there. We'll get to the Gazette. We'll get to DIR. We'll get them all, man. Yeah, this is a new medium. This is a new format, so we gotta approach all for our industry at least. So we gotta approach everybody, kind of explain what's going on. So yeah, I very much enjoyed this. But really, I was hooked on Withering to Death for the longest time. I ended up circling back and listening to a lot of Duran Gray because when I first heard them, I really was not in a place where I was ready for that level of heavy, that level of freaky, that level of crazy in Visual K. But that escalated really quickly, and so I ended up getting hooked on their newer stuff, like a little bit of Ouroboros and then Dumb Spiro Sparrow. I think you guys know how it goes. Once you go down the metal rabbit hole, it's a slippery slope, but it's like a 89-degree angle kind of slope. It's just like you're basically falling straight down, banging onto as many different subgenres as as you can find. At least that was my experience. So. Jeff, your review of the Gazette album will be done when X Japan releases their album. So sometime this fall. There you go. So yeah. Let's see. What else we got? I love their older stuff so much. Super old, but super good. Yeah, it really holds up. Cage got me into Duran Gray. Says... Aoguroi. Kiso and Ouroboros are still my favorites, but I think all their albums are amazing. Hard to pick one. I agree. I agree. They're all very different too. So it's like it's apples and oranges. But I would say Withering to Death was really like. It really struck me, and I'm talking about as a guy who came back to this like 12 years after it had been released, because it's like I didn't even get into Visual K until like much later than this album came out, and then I didn't even like bother getting into Duran Gray due to until I fell down until I had my full on metal epiphany even later. So coming back to this was just like finding like a fucking like just like a beautiful gem. Some of these tracks were killing me. I mean, I knew Saku from seeing like the PVs and stuff. That was like the second most infamous one back at the time, behind Obscure. Merciless Cult is a fantastic song. The Final, obviously, and Kodo. That was like the. I think I'm missing one. No, maybe I got them all. Was there another one that really stuck out to me? I mean, Jesus Christ R&R is just like a great song name, but Kodo was really blew my mind. It just had this like new metal bite to it that like. Or angle to it that like just worked so well, but it was like beyond new metal, maybe not quite alt metal, but it's like it was so catchy, but like so you could tell it was so earnest and fucked up, very quintessentially Duran Gray in that way, but it was packaged also well. It was very it was a very Gazette kind of format song, but before the Gazette had figured out how to make that format of the song. And I always really respected Duran Gray for this, because it's like they really are like a band representing Japan that goes out there and will touch on things years ahead of like other bands. They might pick something else to settle down on, or they just keep rolling, so it's not like they own a lot of these things unless they make a whole album out of it, but like they will touch things that it's like at least make people aware of the concept that they're doing, that now exists. And then I'd say a band and then we've always said like, that's Duran Gray blazing the trail, and then the Gazette will come along and pick out the things that that they're normalizing, the newest stuff that Duran Gray, bands like Duran Gray or bands like whoever else is experimenting like in the West have like dug up, and when it's time, when it's ready for like when it's ready for most bands in the scene to be able to pull off, basically, it seems to be when the Gazette will come along and try their own hand at it. And I think those two make a deadly combo. But Duran Gray is definitely like the real artist about it, and like just really going for it. And I'm saying that as someone whose like personal favorite band is the Gazette. I have massive amount of respect for Duran Gray for like the work they've done in like all kinds of different genres and stuff, and like, you know, and some of this is like following in the footsteps of other Western metal bands. I understand that. But really it was still kind of like codifying it in a very specific way for Japanese bands, for Visual Kei bands. And at this point, it's all kind of, at this point, it is all very innovative. I had never heard a sound like RK before. So they are at that next level. To the point where like I'm unsure about this album, but it's like, yeah, I'm unsure because I'm not sure how shaky, or, you know, maybe some of the music's going to be shaky, but like also at the same time, I'm not casting a single prediction beyond like the music I've literally heard that's going to be on the album, because God only knows what they're going to include. And it's a beautiful thing. Sorry, I went off on a tangent there a little bit, but yeah, so I very much enjoyed Withering to Death. Marrow of the Bone, I think that was the one I like had the least interest in. Clever Sleazoid, I think that was the one people made memes about. It's like the subtitled lyrics somewhere is like, one day I will fuck your parents. Good times. Agitated Screams of Maggots, I believe that's the animated PV, the very creepily black and white animated PV that Dataroma just drew a lot of inspiration for with the heavier one, whichever one out of Ikusuri Wakusuri is heavier. They kind of did their own kind of style of that, and then they kind of brought that animation back later with Rinkaku for the PV for up in RK. Let me pause real quick, try not to neglect the chat. Withering to Death is my number one fave. Marrow of a Bone I cannot listen to, unfortunately. Yeah, it was just there. I'm sure some people like enjoy it. You gotta grow, you gotta keep growing, you gotta grow somewhere. And then Ouroboros, I think a lot of people point to that as like their magnum opus, I guess, or they try and push that. And it's like, I don't know. I'm not that deep into the lore just yet, so to speak. So it's hard for me to kind of pick. I think I was about to say it like, okay, so he pronounces it Vinishka. It's Venushka, I believe, is the name. So I don't know which way you technically want to pronounce the word based on how the singer pronounces it or whatever. But yeah, that's kind of a very epic track. It's very, very intense. Another track in PV that you can see some Dataroma inspiration for with that one song they did. What else? Oh, so Red Soil. Red Soil is one of my favorite Duran Gray songs of all time. The PV is really cool. It's like this fucked up collage animation with the band on, playing in there, and he doesn't do it live, and I understand why, but there's just this part in the, first of all, it's like this kind of like uncertain, uneasy guitar melody that's really creepy, but it's set to like a pace that reminds me of like your kind of catchy indie bands, but it's all wrong. Like everything feels all wrong. You're not listening to a catchy indie song. You're listening to like some crazy, bizarre horror variant of it. And then it goes into this like really dissonant breakdown, and then in the bridge he sings very beautifully with some clean vocals, and then collapses into insane screaming and growling, and like it's ridiculous and kind of extra to a degree, if I'm being honest, but like he just completely goes all out, and then he does a lot of deep growls as well throughout. So Oh, such a nasty song. It's so good. I enjoy it so much. Dumb Sparrow. Can we kind of agree this is an overrated album? Maybe like the tracks themselves were okay, like the lead tracks, but really all I got out of it personally was Lotus, which is a gorgeous, slow but heavy song. Different Sense is fucking so intense, and weird hentai PV, but you know, it's good, it's solid. And then you have Hagashisha to, all right, here we go. Hagashisha to kono mune no naka de kara mitsuita shakunetsu no yami. Fuck, so bad. Ugh. I used to hate, I never say it correctly too when I'm on stream and I bring it up. I'll just be like, the long one on Dumb Sparrow that had the PV where all the bugs were eating the members alive. And Winona will say it verbatim. Ikusuri was the heavier Dadaroma song. That's what I thought. I thought it was the first one. Conceived Sorrow is very good. I'll have to look back and listen to that. I believe I remember that being a fan favorite. So, like I said, I'm still kind of fleshing out stuff. But, let's see, Diabolos with a Heart. All right, I'll give that I'll give that one a listen, I guess. Yeah, this one was just, I just remember this being really weird, because they'd like kind of moved away from Visual K, and they were kind of going for more. It was almost like they were appealing to the Western market, but they weren't appealing to the Western market. It was just like they just wanted to do more metal stuff. And I don't know, it lost the creepy ass romantic side of themselves, maybe, is like what I'm thinking, you know. Winona quotes it often because she's thoroughly, she loves that we got this from Shinya in an interview, but Shinya did say in an interview with us that they came back to Visual K because they got bored. So, you know, so speaking of that, RK, crazy, epic, wild, puts you in a haze, kind of hard to focus while listening to it. You know, like, you don't listen to it for like workout music or ear candy, I wouldn't really say. Although, well, I've done it before, if you do like the back half maybe, or parts of it. But by the way, it took me like years to realize that this is a decapitated pregnant woman with like tentacles. Fucking Durangray, man. Because like here it looks like a rosebud. That's what I was looking at for most of the time I was writing my review for RK. But yeah, that's yeah, this is solid. What did I say for this might be embarrassing if I read an old review, but I'm curious what I said back then. I remember giving it a very positive review. I won't go too deep into it, just like the summary. 2014 was a rough year for Visual K fans. Yes, it was. In between the seeming infinite stream of disbandment announcements, many fans were disheartened to see household names like Sadie and Bourne releasing music that either fell flat on its face or just barely met their own standards. I remember writing this. Other bands like Exist Trace, Alice 9, and Muck experimented with new styles and sounds, and while many of them were successful, it was no doubt polarizing to some of their fans. All in all, if you're a Visual K fan, there's a pretty good chance that you feel a little jaded about last year. But it wasn't all bad. Powerhouse indie bands like Roy's, Kiryu, Buglug, and Archite continued to release fantastic music that expanded their styles and dazzled listeners. They were all really in their zone at the time, in their groove at the time, by the way. If that sounds like in dispute, maybe like with Roy's or Kiryu, like they were really in their groove in 2014. granting them success in both the indie and mainstream markets. Also present were a handful of interesting band debuts. Rave and Harlequin come to mind. Well, you know, man, blast from the past, you know. So funny because my interest was completely on Harlequin and mildly on Rave, and now it's reversed. It's like solidly on Rave and mildly on Harlequin based on how they've grown. At the very end of the year, Visual K fans finally got what they were looking for, a truly fantastic release that lived up to its own hype. That release was provided by one of the leading innovators in the Japanese music industry as a whole, DIR. With the release of RK, DIR has provided an inspiring example of musical evolution that the entire industry can learn from. With too many facets to list and an ever-changing atmosphere that will keep you entranced throughout all 16 of its tracks, RK is by far is hands down my pick for best album of 2014. Yeah, it was pretty open and shut, and there was just so much to go through. I did my best to kind of give a general overview without going too far. So there's a lot to live up to. I mean, like from my perspective, just because of, you know, how I felt about RK. You know, so we'll see how this goes. But I'm glad I looked that up because it's also very interesting. This album is now coming out in a very different climate. It's actually the polar opposite climate. There's not a deficit of quality music. There's a surplus of everybody is doing everything right at the moment. Actually, sorry, I'm misclicked. I meant to just kind of click here. But yeah, there's like a huge there's like a huge boom in all kinds of like different types of music in Visual K. I think we're going through a renaissance, so it's going to be interesting to see where DIR fits into all this, you know, because like we got a lot of young upstart bands that are really trying to push through, and so I'll be curious to you know, see what the old guard is doing. I think the Gazette made their statement. I think LMC made their statement. I don't know if Muck's gonna make their statement by the end of the year. Sid's made their statement in my book, you know. But like with that mini album, we'll see what DIR does. But yeah, so weird hentai PV. What the hell? Oh, Gula, bless your heart. Oh, should I even get into it? Also got a 3 out of 10. Yeah, it's hard. It was hard to say that name. It's the Different Sense PV is everything has to do with tentacles. Like I'll just put it that way. And there's actual hentai clips. It's blurred out. I mean, it's blurred out on YouTube. On the YouTube one that I saw a while ago. I don't know if it's even still up, if they have an official PV for it up. And it's not just like the hentai clips, it's like they switch over to like other horror things involving tentacles that are penetrating into like people's ears and other places, and you know, just that's the whole aesthetic. That's the whole vibe they went for, was invasive tentacles. Not cool. It was kind of not cool. And then also Kyo's face is rotting off, like the flesh is rotting off while he's singing. So yeah, there's that. Welcome to DIR. I mean, but you know this. Visual K works better for them, IMO. It allows them more room for creativity and allows Kyo to branch out more in how he presents himself alongside his lyrics. Yeah. Oh, that does remind me, though. I'm a little worried looking at the PV. The theatrics might be getting a little out of control. Maybe it's just a personal preference thing. Like, it won't quite be my style. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's very ambitious. That's the thing, man. But it's like you gotta be. It's what happens when you take risks. Is you know, sometimes it doesn't. You don't always stick the landing. There's a couple places where it kind of snorted. You know, like the faces he was making and stuff. So, but we'll see. We'll see. I guess we'll see. Anyway, so yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap that up. We've been at it for about an hour. I'm sure the stream will be ready like as soon as I finish the stream. It should be done processing since it's kind of short, or just like a few minutes. So if any of you guys missed the other stuff, just scroll back and check the rest of it out. Next up is Dataroma at 5:30. We're gonna have another short stream, and then following. Let me double check my schedule. Make sure I said the right time. Oh boy, I'm just extra paranoid. Don't want to lead you all astray. Yeah. So Dataroma at 5:30, and then the Chiyu listening party at 6:30, and then 8:30, Yoshiki's Very Busy Year, and we'll have the listicle out by then as well for that, and then after hours. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments. About During Gray's PV, like what your take is. Been wrapping up for the past 30 minutes, by the way. Yeah, we kind of go with the flow on this show. I was like, maybe I should wrap it up, and then I had an idea to go a little bit more. So, yeah, I have no. I'm not a short form content guy, in case you haven't noticed. So that's why I do the streams. Not yet, at least. So, but yeah, let me know in the comments what you guys think about all this. What your impressions are. What are you picking up what During Gray's putting down? Do you like what you see? Do you like what you hear? Yeah, I'll see you guys shortly. We're gonna talk about some Dataroma stuff. Got a cool event planned for you guys for that. So, peace out.